I'm extremely proud of this session because I am joined by my team members of the CSA Executive Committee 2022-2025. I'm going to allow each of them to reintroduce themselves. Some of them, their statuses have changed since they were elected. Some are now at the bar. You know, I don't know if anybody is married and they didn't tell me. So maybe parents, I don't know. Those things are possibly not relevant. But we're just going to reintroduce ourselves. I'm Benjamin, the chairperson of the CSA. I proudly hail from Jamaica, born and bred. I am an attorney by practice, and I just love being a part of an organization that helps me and allows me to demonstrate my passion for education. Then I'll go to Vice Chair Advocacy Partnerships.
Hi, everyone. I am Christina Williams. I am also born and bred from Jamaica. That was not intentional. Benjamin and I didn't have any plans per se. I am an attorney in training.
Yes.
I lead the portfolio of advocacy and partnerships.
Vice Chair Democracy and Participation.
Yeah, greetings everyone. I'm Muhammad Adeyemi. I'm a patriotic Nigerian, and I currently have the honor and privilege to serve as the Vice Chairperson Democracy and Participation for the Commonwealth Student Association for the term 2022 to 2025. It's been a great pleasure working with all of you. All right, thank you.
Or Africa Regional Rep.
Greetings, everyone. Yes, my name is Francis Azubike. Since Benjamin has introduced himself as a proud Jamaican, I think it's best I introduce myself as a proud Nigerian too. I'm a young architect, and I am currently in the capital city of the CSA's headquarters. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Francis. Alicia, or Caribbean and Americas Regional Rep.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever in the world you are. My name is Alicia Randall. I am from the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Very proud of my country as well. I mean, I may be mistaken, but I think I'm the first Trinidadian to hold this post. Right. So that is, very, very, very happy to be representing Trinidad at this level. I am also an attorney at law. I think there's a trend here with Caribbean attorneys, I guess. Also an attorney at law. Been practicing for about 1 year now, so very, very new. And I hold the portfolio of Caribbean and Americas Regional Representative. It's experience. It's a challenging experience, but it's one that I hold very close to my heart. I've had the opportunity to learn so much about my region while being in this portfolio. It has been incredibly eye-opening. And like my team members, it is a very fulfilling feeling to be able to serve your country and your region in this way. So thank you.
Mr. Yombon Kopio, I see that you're referred to as BYC in your region, Bradley. That's a brand now. You're a brand.
It's a thing in PNG. Hi, everyone. Kia ora. Talofalava. Meori. Bula. And hello, Ogeta. I am Bradley Ombonkopio. I am from the Pacific Island nation of Papua New Guinea. And I'm a dental surgeon by profession. Graduated in 2022, practiced for 1 year. And then jumped on as the CSA Pacific Regional Representative. So it's been a privilege. I've learned so much, and Yeah, I'm just so excited. So much has happened in 1 year, so it's been a roller coaster.
Indeed.
So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Bradley. I'll go to Christina. Christina, please share some highlights from your portfolio, but it might also be helpful if all of us preface the highlights with a brief summary of what our portfolio entails, what it is that we're supposed to do. So a brief summary and then share the highlights of the last year. Christina.
Okay. Thank you, Benjamin. I feel as if I am having a little bit of a video challenge. Am I the only one seeing myself being a little shrouded in the video?
But it's fine. You can
It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. All right, so my portfolio, advocacy and partnerships, it's a bit self-explanatory. It's in charge of advocacy and partnerships for the CSA. So I lead the mandate in terms of, I guess, in a way, the heart of the organization, because no matter what we take on, a project, a partnership, it's important that we advocate for students. And so there's a bread and butter aspect of our advocacy, which is to ensure that each student in the Commonwealth has access to quality education, regardless of where they're from, socioeconomic background, their gender, etc. But along with that bread and butter aspect of our advocacy, we have also decided as a body, relying on the EXCO's decision as well as the member organization decision, to focus on 3 areas for our tenure, being 1, the decolonization of education, secondly, safety and security of students, and thirdly, non-formal education with a focus on soft skills. So those are our, I would say, our special areas of advocacy. But of course, we have continued to and will always continue to focus on the access to quality education for all our Commonwealth students. So that's the background of more of our work in terms of advocacy and the background of the portfolio. In terms of our achievements, and our work, our ongoing work, I think I will start off with what's been ongoing, and I would say what we hope to fully accomplish by next year, because we'd have started working on it and we want to ensure that we have achieved it for the benefit of our students. So we have tried to mainstream, or we've been working on mainstreaming the advocacy areas. And one of the ways that we've been trying to do this is through a public speaking and debate competition that we have in partnership with Aspire Rwanda. That's a debate competition or a debate competition organization founded and led by students.
I'm currently in a meeting. Please, I'll call you back.
Founded and led by students in Rwanda. And we have been working on that for a year. It's in partnership with the Commonwealth Secretariat, as well as the Association of Commonwealth Universities. So it is a really important partnership that we have with them. It has the intention of being really impactful on Commonwealth students, to have this meeting of the minds, to be able to discuss in issues to do with education, development, post-COVID, etc. What we're working on right now is to ensure that students across the Commonwealth have access to the competition, because it will be held in Rwanda, through support, through sponsorship, that the prizes and surprises will be worth it. But most importantly, that students feel prepared to compete and feel prepared to be able to give their opinions on the different topics and pillars that we have. So we're looking forward to the different schools applying to be a part of the competition and to supporting you to be present in the competition, which will be hosted next year, February. That is February 2024. Another part of the mainstreaming efforts that we have are the capacity building sessions that we have hosted. So far, we have had a Pan-Commonwealth, which is a Pan-Commonwealth meaning across the Commonwealth training session on decolonization of education, accessible education, and gender equality in education. That was a training that encompassed all those 3 areas. And we'd have trained over 100 students and young people across the Commonwealth in those areas. What we're waiting on now is for those students or young people, it's a combination, to receive their certifications from the program. But the program has been complete, the trainings have been complete, and we want to thank our students and young people for getting involved, for spending 5 weeks of their time involved in the program and completing, I think it would have been 2 hours per session to learn these different areas, and also to be empowered enough to take on advocacy in their respective countries, regions, and across the Commonwealth. Aside from those trainings, we've also had, I would say, taken our advocacy to conferences as well and different high-level gatherings. We would have had our Commonwealth Youth Ministers meeting, and the CSA was present there. And at that meeting, that would have been in March 2023, this year, yes. There's so much has happened at the date sometimes. Right, and they would have had an outcome document from that. And CSA would have been an integral partner in determining the outcome of that particular document, which would in essence mean what are the commitments of the education ministers across the Commonwealth. And a part of that would have been a focus on, or was a focus on, education development, decolonization of education, ensuring that our students have access to quality education, how it is that our students are able to access regardless of disability, for example, or different abilities. And that, I think, was a key success for CSA and a key success for the students of the Commonwealth, because we speak for and with the students of the Commonwealth. We also had the Commonwealth Africa Youth and Students Summit. CSA was a key partner in that. In fact, we helped to plan that summit, plan and implement that summit. That would have also had an outcome document. And in that outcome document, that was of May of this year. And in that outcome document, we would have also included key areas that we're focusing on. So decolonization of education, non-formal education with a focus on digital skills. We would have, I would say, requested or implored through that outcome document that we want the governments of the Commonwealth to focus on non-formal education, fully developing our students and our young people for the future, the 21st century, that include digital skills. Ongoing as well is that we are currently working on to be implemented. So it is ongoing. Teach Me in My Language campaign, which is focusing on, because we're already in the planning stages, you, our students, learning in your native tongue as well as your endemic language. You'd have heard my colleague just now, Bradley, greet you in his native language. And we want all students across the Commonwealth to feel empowered enough to embrace and to associate that this is your language, this is your tongue, this is your country, this is your ethnicity, and that you are learning in this particular endemic language, indigenous knowledge and skills, and that it is equal to whatever it is that you learn in, I would say, in a Western environment or in an environment that is not your own. That is very important to the CSA as well. And a very big ticket item that we are undergoing as well is our safety and security. And very soon you'll be seeing a declaration go around, and we'd want you to interact with it, to give your feedback on it, and to help us to have institutions, governments, and student bodies as well to sign on and to help implement this, because we are very, very, I would say, we're very focused and very committed to ensuring the safety and security of our students across the Commonwealth. Those are my updates for now, and I look forward to working with you all and working for you all in the capacity of Vice Chair for Advocacy and Partnerships. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. We are going to our Vice Chair, Democracy and Participation, with his update.
Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. think to start with, for democracy and participation, we have to understand the fact that the representation of the Commonwealth Student Association here present this time around is a conglomeration of representative of supra-multi national, or let me call it supra-multi international student representative representing different regions, be it the Africa region, the Asia region, the Pacific region, the Caribbean and Americas region, and the European or Europe region, as we reference to that, Europe and Canada region. So those are the 5 basic sub representations that we have in the Commonwealth Student Association, and there are different levels of engagement that are going on in each of these regions. And as regards democracy and participation, it also involves engaging with student leaders, students themselves, at the grassroots level of our mobilization, of our sensitization, and of gathering support to ensure that these organizations work in the interest of the student that they ideally represent, and also they also work in such a way that they represent the interest of the students that they vote to represent, particularly reflecting their voices in the Commonwealth. And I give a particular example, because we do have different level of engagement across various regions, and I hope that the regional representatives of each and every region will speak on what they have been doing in their various regional areas regarding their developmental agenda. However, of what is particularly important as the head of democracy and participation of the Commonwealth Student Association is that we want to see a level in which we interface with student leaders. And as regards the report from the Honorable Vice Chair, Advocacy and Partnerships, we are very particular about first, what is the safety and security measures that we bring to the table in ensuring that student leaders are protected, students themselves are well protected, they are being stood up for their rights, are being protected, and all of this. Similarly, working in synergy with the regional representatives, I think that a great level of engagement has been created or are currently ongoing. And as I referenced initially, that the engagement across the regions are multifaceted in nature, in such a way that we see a great significance of improvements and representation, say particularly equal representation from the African region. For example, you take the Commonwealth Youth and Students Summit that was held in Abuja May this year, and you see that out of 23 Commonwealth countries, we have 17 representation from different Commonwealth countries. This is significant. So we hope to have an engagement like this in the Pacific, in Asia, in the Caribbean and Americas. I know that the regional rep will speak on that, to engage more with student leaders across these various regions, and also particularly in Europe regarding Malta, Cyprus, and the National Union of Students in the United Kingdom itself. The office is also very particular about the engagement of the governance system. What are the policies being put in place in running various administrations and putting in place electoral values that the student leaders across boards in all these regions that they would sway. And of equal importance is also leading the recruitment of new members, because the Commonwealth Students Association understand the fact that there are various suppressive voices across the 56 Commonwealth countries, and this does not in uniformity brings to the table the national students organizations of all these 56 countries being represented in the CSA. So we are working in partnerships with student leaders in various countries that do not have national student organizations yet, to see how we put that into fruition, and working, as I said initially, with synergy from the regional representatives of various regions across the Commonwealth. It is also, and this is an ongoing effort. We launched the recruitment process sometimes mid this year. There was a cap on the deadline range of recruiting members. However, what I am very pleased to update members and our viewers across the Commonwealth is that registrations are still very much open. We are open to engagement to student leaders, particularly in regions that have less representation in the CSA, and in also to other foster their understanding, and also understands what are their major obstacles that they face, perhaps in setting up their national students organization, or in participating or in engaging their various governments at their national levels. We're very much particular about this, and it is an ongoing work. We are still currently recruiting, and this is also me calling for different student leaders across various regions, particularly in the Pacific region, in the Asia region, I think, yeah, those are some of and the Europe region, Malta, Cyprus, and the United Kingdom itself, so that we have equal representation and better understanding of what are the hopes and aspirations of students over there, what they have in particular. Yeah, and recently, by the virtue of my office and the representation and the mandates that I hold within the Commonwealth Student Association, I also have the privilege of representing and making the voices of you all that we represent collectively by your support and mandate to be part of the new 2024 to 2025 UNESCO Student Youth Network membership, which is a great giant strides that we've pulled across through with our partners, the Global Student Forum, and all of that, to the fact that there is fair share and equal representation of Commonwealth students at the UNESCO global level. This is all from my end, and I thank you very much, and we'll continue the engagement.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Mohammed. Now, we do not have the elected Vice Chair Communications and Research. There was an interim appointment, and Mr. Ridgway Arifin has been serving as the acting Vice Chair of Communications and Research. However, he is unavoidably absent. He is relatively fresh in the portfolio, but I can say that he has hit the ground running. The Digital Marketing Committee has been revamped, and a proposal for a refreshed social media strategy has been tabled. And I know that in the coming months, you are going to notice our new and improved rebranding and forceful online advocacy under Ridgway's leadership. I am going to move to our Pacific Regional Representative, Bradley.
Thank you, Chair. Good night, everyone. Good morning, good night, wherever you're watching from. If you're in the Pacific, good night. I think from my end, especially jumping into the role of the Pacific Regional Representative, it's been I think I've had to learn the ropes a lot, especially in terms of the region. And we've had a few milestones, but primarily the initial focus, I think, for the Pacific region was in terms of the Commonwealth Students Association. I think one of the biggest disadvantages that we've had is that we're one of the regions with the lowest visibility, one of the CSA, and then non-existence of national unions, which is where we get our core mandate from, or so in the Pacific region, it's been, I think, Australia and New Zealand. So those are the only two countries that have national unions that are present, vibrant, active, and engage with their students and their constituents. But they haven't associated a lot with the Pacific Island nations, which make up a lot of the Commonwealth countries. And most of the Commonwealth countries in the Pacific Islands don't have a national union present. So I think that's where, in terms of visibility and engagement, the Pacific has been very difficult to engage. I think it's one of the things that it took a while for me to actually pick up and realize. So my core goal initially when jumping into this role, like I said, it took a while to actually figure out where my priorities would be. But I think one of the major key priorities as the Pacific Regional Representative was for the visibility of the CSA. For people to actually know, students in the region to know who we are, what we're about, who we represent, why we're important, the work that we do. So those sort of things. So I think key for me has been trying to actually get the brand of the CSA visible and out into the Pacific, which has been very difficult to do because it's easy to drive these things when you have national unions that are present. When they're not present, it's very difficult to drive. So I've come to appreciate that. I think that's been one of my biggest challenges in the Pacific region. So I've been trying to tackle that, and I think the advantage for me was having a good, good support in PNG because of my background as the president of the University of PNG, and that's helped me to gain a lot of traction within PNG, which is one of the larger Pacific Island nations. So I've tried to use that to my advantage. Because like I said, with visibility, when there isn't any, it's like there is no, it feels like there's no membership in the Pacific. So one of the key areas has been to increase the visibility and also try and engage a lot more students in the Pacific, especially in the islands. So one of the key, I think our key objectives, and I think a big win for us especially has been in the CSA role was the attendance of me in the Pacific Regional or Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting. And that was a big win, one in terms of students in the Pacific and having representation at a high level meeting like that, where we had all ministers from all across the Pacific, education ministers that gathered in Auckland. And I was privileged to actually get support from the New Zealand National Union of Students. And we've had a great partnership with NZUSA, and I'm thankful for their leadership and their support as well in this space in the Pacific. And we got the chance to advocate for students' participation at the Conference of Pacific Education Ministers meeting. And in the outcome statement, I think I had the opportunity to present on resilience building around education in one of the roundtables. And then also during one of the ministerial outcome statements, I got to present the CSO statement on behalf of all the CSOs in the region. So that was a real big bonus and a plus for the CSA, especially in terms of visibility with regional partners and also governments and ministers within the region. I think that was one of the biggest wins for this year. The other one was establishing the PNG National Students Union, which is a work in progress, and we've got a lot of traction and a lot of support. We actually got members from all different state institutions within PNG to sign a memorandum of understanding, all the SRC presidents within the 7 institutions here, that they would come together to actually form the National Students of Union. So I think that's been another big win in establishing a national student union, which will make 3 in the Pacific, and the first for a developing island nation to be PNG. Along with that, we've also leveraged on our partnership with the New Zealand National Union of Students, and we actually got to get support from the University of PNG to get a group of students to go down to New Zealand for a short exchange of 1 week. And that's where we actually tried to advocate and get, I think, the universities from New Zealand and also Australia as well, but more so New Zealand, to actually support the developing island nations. And I think that's what we were trying to advocate for using that initiative. So that's been a real success, where the University of Auckland and Auckland University of Technology have actually come out to say that we want to actually continue student exchange between the island nations and New Zealand as well. So I think that was a big win and a big bonus, and I'm still working on the reports to actually get that to be a consistent year-in thing, where we have students from the islands to go down to New Zealand. And then also, I think the other highlight for me was getting appointed as the CSA GSF Global Student Forum rep. And I think that's been a world of its own, trying to learn the ropes at the GSF, because it's just broad and big as well. But I think it's a learning experience for me, and I've tried my best to represent the CSA in the global mandate for representing students as well. So that, and then also I think I share the spot with Mohammed in the UNESCO SDG for youth and student group. So that's another bonus as well. But yeah, I think we've actually started building on from that, and next year is CHOGM, which will be held in the Pacific in Samoa. So next key focus is to actually get a lot more representatives from the islands and the universities out there, which we've started to do. But I hope that we can do that by the end of this year and have a strong working group. And then from PNG and New Zealand, where we've set off the, I guess, foundation, push on from there and get a lot more students involved from all the other Pacific Island nations. So we've actually got, I think, great traction going at the moment. So that's a big win for me, because, like I said, I never knew what the CSA was coming into this role as a Pacific Islander myself. And I know that's the same story with everyone in PNG and a lot of other Pacific Island nations. But I feel like we've got the CSA as a representative body that's known in the Pacific now, at least 1 or 2 people from all across the Commonwealth Island nations. So I'm actually happy with how this year's gone. It's been hectic, but I'm grateful. And 2024 is, I guess, where we make things happen, because everyone's coming to the Pacific, and I look forward to receiving you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Boy, without anything being said of me bordering favoritism, I won't trump your praises too loud, Bradley, but boy, people, can I tell you, Bradley has worked hard. And an equally hard worker is coming up next. The chairperson of the Africa Regional Committee, Francis, please. You only have 7 minutes, because you really could take a whole session to talk about all the things happening with the respective countries in your committee. So 7 to 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. I appreciate the fact that you understand that it's a big region, and there's so much to say from our end. All right. Good day, everyone. Once again, my name is Francis Azubike, and I serve as the Africa Regional Rep on the Commonwealth Students Association Executive Committee. Since coming on board in March earlier this year, we recognize that my predecessor has, done quite wonderful work in the region. The Africa region boasts of the strongest membership in the CSA. And this is one of the things that I realized early. And I saw the need to consolidate on the aspect of heightening, the visibility of the CSA within this region. So one of the things I did as a first was to set up the Africa Regional Committee, which I had the support of the chair to constitute while we were having the Youth Leadership Summit in London. And these eminent and distinguished student leaders were drawn majorly from the national student organizations, which are, the members of the CSA. So these persons assist us in furthering the impact and the works of the CSA in their respective countries. So in the CSA Africa region, we have 21 countries. And at the moment, we have, we represent in 18 countries at the moment. We are still seeking to have, representatives from Gabon, from Togo, and from Mozambique. After constituting the committee, we went straight ahead to the West Africa, particularly Ghana. Like I said earlier, we are looking for ways to ensure that the visibility of the CSA is continues to be promoted within this region. So we got invited to come and observe the National Union of Ghana Students election, which I have the pleasure to share with you that this is the very first time since the history of the CSA, since its establishment, that the CSA would be observing any of its memberships election. And so we were in Ghana sometime in July, early July, to observe that election, which saw more than 1,307 delegates from 141 institutions who came together in Cape Coast to elect their new members. And after the election, we gave a report about how the whole election process went through, and to a very large extent, it was a wonderful exercise, and that has also helped us, in ensuring that we get this fit, because as I speak to you now, we have been invited also by the National Association of Nigerian Students, which would also be the second time the CSA would be invited to come observe its election. And as we know, NANS represents about 40.1 million Nigerian students. And during this election, we would have about 355 delegates, which are particularly the student union leaders of the respective institutions, to come, vote for the new set of leadership. Then we move very quickly to Central Africa. In Cameroon, we have been working very closely with the student leaders in this country, because of the fact that for a very long time now, Cameroon has not been able to have a national students organization, a single body to represent the interests and concerns of students in this country. And I have so much excitement to share that at the moment we have made so much progress in with regards to establishing the institution. At the moment, we have met with the Ministry of Education, and there are three important documents which have been required of us to produce, and the Cameroon student leaders have been able to are working towards that, and they have been ensuring that this documents, which includes, of course, the status of the student movements within the country, and the minutes of the meetings, of the constitutive meetings. We've been having all of that with them, and those are provided. And by December, second week of December, there will be a General Assembly where these documents will be reviewed in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education, and hopefully by January, the NSO would be fully formed. So we are now at an advanced stage in terms of establishing that organization in Cameroon. In July, yes, late July, I had the privilege of attending the General Assembly in Malawi of the Malawi National Students Union, where I at the time the institution of they have been formed actually, but there's a need to legitimize the association, the union. So the CSA was present to give some kind of recommendations as to how they could go about with ensuring that the Malawi National Association of Malawi National Students Union is fully legitimized by the government of the country. And so we also offered some recommendations in terms of how they could leverage on the Year of Youth initiative that is currently on, how they could benefit from the initiative, and how collaborating with other sister organizations and international organizations can bolster their activities and their strength as a union. We also gave them recommendations as to what kind of membership scope should be adopted as they are in the process of formalizing that and reviewing their constitutions. And so we also offered to assist in terms of the constitutional review, as we have a democracy committee in place. We also have been working very closely, or we have been having some constitutive meetings and engagements with the Danish national student organizations, because the truth is we are not too keen on we're not insisting on that. It has to be only countries within the Commonwealth member nations that we can interact or engage with. So we had we have been having several communications and engagements with the Danish national students organizations and the Tanzania higher learning students organization, and this is to come up with a partnership deal that would address issues of sexual reproductive health, mental health, and capacity building for student leaders in Tanzania. So we realized that post-COVID there has been issues of how children or school teenagers cope with studies learning in their respective classrooms in terms of their mental health. So we have been collaborating, and we would be having another kind of a final meeting to finalize on that partnership. We would be starting with Tanzania first, and then from there we'll move to other selected African countries. So that would be that for the for Tanzania, with our partnership with the Danish National Students Organization, and that would be all for now. If there are other updates, I would share in due time. Thank you.
Francis, I could not allow you to move on without saying that you have had consistent, substantial meetings with your committee since it has been formed. That, in my view, is an achievement. All regional reps are charged under the Constitution with establishing a regional working group with representation from each nation. There are 21 African nations. And I believe you have what now? 17 members in your committee? 19. Yes. You're mute.
We have 18 currently now.
We have 18 representatives from Africa sitting on the Africa Regional Committee. I believe you meet every first Sunday?
We meet every last Sunday of the month.
Every last Sunday. And the CSA Ghana representative, Joshua O.P., which really is a general. We have to call him a general. But he's secretary.
That reminds me, actually, I omitted that. Sorry. We have been working very closely with the Aban Center for Global Policy which our Ghana rep has been really been leading on that initiative to have a national student conference, which will come up next month in Ghana. And like Benjamin would agree with me, our Ghana rep has been tremendous. He has been doing so much, in ensuring that conferences, is a success. Coming after that would also be a digital boot camp, sometime in December also, which would also be in Ghana. It is going to be aimed at, ensuring that young people, students across Ghana are trained on some, digital tools that would, assist them with how they go about the digital world.
I believe you're targeting
and also
participants.
Yes, so I need to mention also that our Uganda rep has also been representing us, so tremendously. We were at the Africa Free Trade meeting sometime in, I think, August or so, where our Uganda rep was there to represent and give some recommendations in terms of how students can, leverage on the business, world, and try to ensure that they marry the aspect of education and their knowledge of business and of finances is up. So there's been quite a lot, and we actually appreciate them. Thank you.
Julia engaged about 1,000 girls on the Day of the Girl in their leadership conference, as well as Joshua. He organized the scholarship talk. I believe there were about 900 persons who were engaged on that X-Space Live. Commendations again to the Africa Regional Committee and to my successor, Caribbean and Americas Regional Rep, the smallest region, but a mighty region. Little but with talent, we would say in Jamaica. Alicia.
Yes, thank you, Benjamin. I would unreservedly say that we saved the best region for last. Hashtag I live where you vacation.
Yes.
All right. Now, getting into the updates. So, as Benjamin said, I'll just start with a precursor of the challenges because I think they're the same across. While we may have different successes, a lot of times within the regions, our challenges are quite similar. One of the major challenges being funding. It has, probably been the biggest obstacle for me personally within my region. So just keeping that in mind, that all that we have been able to do, we have had to be very innovative and creative in the way that we approach these initiatives, taking whatever opportunities we can to achieve our mandate as the CSA. I think you would have heard most of my colleagues mention the word visibility many times while they gave their updates. And I'm going to mention it a few more times because one of the things that we focused on very heavily at our strategic planning session when we just entered our portfolios in 2022, late 2022, was the visibility of the CSA that we saw being, not anywhere near to where we thought it should be for an organization that has been in existence for 10 plus years. And in the Caribbean region, that also was a big challenge. There were many nations that were not aware of the work that CSA was doing. Despite, as Benjamin said, he held my portfolio previously, the tremendous work that he did in his portfolio in certain Caribbean regions. Apologizing if there's any background noise. I hope that you're hearing me clearly. Can just get a confirmation? Yes? Awesome. Okay. So the first substantive project that we were able to successfully execute was the hosting of a side event at the Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit, which was held in January of this year. It was held in Tobago. The Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit happens annually, and it is really the highest level of gathering of Caribbean youth. All the NYCs across the Caribbean region are invited. You have youth ministers also in attendance, and a lot of high-level stakeholders coming together at this summit. This is the first time that the Commonwealth Students Association was able to
Alicia, you just broke up, and that was a very important highlight. So I'd love if you could just assess your connection and repeat that portion. No. All right. I will do my section and allow you to resolve your issues.
Okay. Are you okay?
Perfect.
It's better now? All right,
yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully there's no more interruptions.
Side event.
Yes. So I was saying that this was the first time that the CSA was able to substantively participate in the Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit, meaning sharing a program on the agenda. And this was a huge accomplishment for us. It was a very creative session, very engaging session. But what it allowed us to do was to really dive deep into the work of the CSA and the importance of student government, because oftentimes we have these gatherings of youth and we leave out the subgroup that is students. But to really highlight successes of national student unions within the Caribbean region and show how it would be beneficial to other regions that do not have NSOs or do not place a particular focus on student leadership or student development. This session also greatly contributed to the successful establishment of the Caribbean and Americas Regional Working Group. Following this, we had a number of dynamic young student leaders that were not aware of platforms where they could come together and collaborate, that they could come to for guidance, even understanding that they could register with the CSA and sharing the benefits that come with being a CSA member. We were able to achieve quite a number of those things happening coming out of the Caribbean Youth Leaders Summit. And we're hoping next year again to be able to have a similar, probably larger session where we can partner with entities to really show the growth of student governance within the Caribbean region. A lot of the projects that we intend to do are quite interlinked, and this is a really good platform for us to be able to create the partnerships that we need within the Caribbean region. Another thing that happened was the Eastern Caribbean Education Ministers meeting that happened in April. Now, in April of this year. Now, CSA was not able to physically attend. However, prior to that meeting, we did have a number of consultations with the OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and with UNICEF. And we were very, very happy to note that following from these discussions and advocacy, a large majority of the discussions that were held at the Eastern Caribbean Education Ministers meeting focused on the support of education ministries for the national student unions and national student organizations. Now, many people did not even know that there are a number of education acts that actually provide for the establishment of national student unions and national student organizations within their countries. And this was a timely reminder to the education ministers that this is a mandate that requires their support. There are still quite a few Eastern Caribbean countries that do not currently have a national student union or national student organizations. And oftentimes the support of the education ministries contributes greatly to the success of an NSU or NSO. And that was something that we were able to gain written commitments from education ministers to pledge their support to the NSUs and the NSOs within the Eastern Caribbean region. So following from this, we, going along that line, use this to push the idea that we have had cooking for quite some time now, that we've been working on having a number of meetings, and that is the Eastern Caribbean Student Governance Training Workshop. Now, this is a project that we faced many hurdles. It is quite a grand project gathering of young people that we're planning to have within the Eastern Caribbean. And I'm just going to go through some of the items that we intend to focus on at this workshop so you can get an idea of how important it will be to the Eastern Caribbean region, to the Caribbean region as a whole. One thing we wanted to do is to focus on the St. Lucia model of their National Students Union, because we find that there are few countries within the Caribbean that have really found what works, that have robust and effective national student unions. And we want to see how best we can learn from those models and implement that into the different countries within the Caribbean that may not have a very active student union, may have a new student union that is still finding its footing in this space, as well as countries that do not have any national student unions or national student organizations. We're hoping that this gathering will allow us to formulate at least parts, or if not an entire steering committee that are able to be trained with the knowledge that they need to go back into their countries with the support of their education ministries to establish a national student union or organization within their country. You know, things like drafting a constitution. One tangible thing that we hope that they're able to leave with is to have a drafted constitution that is specific to the needs of their country, because we find that oftentimes that guidance is very necessary. We've even had a number of consultations with national student unions that have reached out to us for assistance in terms of revamping the structure of their organization, of their national student union, running their membership, running their elections, things like that. Those things are very crucial to the self-sustainability of national student organizations, and sometimes those are the reasons for the downfall, or why an NSO or NSU may go dormant, as we've seen a number of times in the Caribbean region. We plan to also do an assessment of the current state of existing NSOs, as well as, you know, this is going to be a very good platform for NSOs and NSUs to connect. There has been no other type of gathering or workshop or conference or anything like that that really brings together national student unions and organizations across the Caribbean region. So just for reference, the countries that we plan to focus on for this particular workshop is Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts, St. Vincent, and Grenada. I'll move on a little bit now, just briefly to touch on some of our goals for the future, some things that we do want to take on. And a major goal that we have decided is the establishment of at least 2 fully self-sustainable national student organizations within the region. Now, I believe that in Benjamin's tenure, he was able to successfully contribute to the establishment of one. That would be the Guyana National Student Organization. And he can attest to how difficult it is to just get one national student union established, supported, you know, with membership fully functioning, able to live after you move out of your portfolio. That is the goal. We don't want to just say, okay, I was Caribbean representative and there were 2 NSOs that were established under my tenure, and 2 years down the road, I look back and it no longer exists, right? So in this scenario, it is much better to move slowly and to take the steps needed to ensure that everything is done in a way that allows for sustainability, in a way that allows for continuity of the organization. And oftentimes I have found that means having some form of commitment from the Ministry of Education, because while and that can also mean having that written into some form of legislation as well. That is the ultimate goal, I would say, in terms of establishing these NSOs and ensuring that they're able to continue. Another major goal that we have is to update the State of Student Governance report for the Caribbean region. Now, with my reading of the State of Student Governance report, I can say that I was quite disappointed with the lack of emphasis that was placed on the Caribbean region. Now, we are mentioned, we are spoken about, but that is not a resource that I found that I can go to. I learned a lot about the African region. I learned a lot about the Pacific region, and I found information on the Caribbean region to be quite lacking. So while we may not be able to, have the publication done within our tenure, we intend to take on the project, and we have started taking on the project of consultation and focus group sessions with national student organizations and national student unions through our Caribbean Regional Working Group to ascertain the challenges, the successes, the things that, the mistakes that we have made in the past, what we are lacking, what we need, what we don't get. All of that information we would like to be readily available, so that we're not struggling to understand what is the student governance landscape within the Caribbean region. Because when I came into this portfolio, I knew I heard I had persons giving me advice before that says that yes, it's difficult. Yes, there's some countries that there really is no room for development. You're not going to get the support, things like that. But knowing why and having the data to support it, I have found is a big challenge. When you go to entities, large entities, like UNICEF, for example, which we are partnering with for the Eastern Caribbean Workshop, they don't want to just hear your grand ideas. They want to hear, what gap is this going to fill in the Caribbean region? What is this going to help long term? How is this going to be a sustainable model? How are you sure that this is even something that Caribbean students want? And you can't give that type of information if you do not have the research to back it up. So we're very happy now that we have a appointed communications and research vice chair, and we intend to work closely along with that portfolio to ensure that we're able to bring forward some useful, valuable, and impactful information on the state of student governance within the Caribbean region. That is no easy task. We are in the process of selecting, having meetings with different research specialists to select one that we would like to work with us to conduct this research, because we do want to make sure that it's done by the book. And that is something that you'll be hearing about much later on. So I think I would end here for the Caribbean region, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Alicia. I'm going to give my contribution, and then I'm going to invite my colleagues to give closing remarks in their native tongue. So, what is my job? What is my job? I'm going to read verbatim from my terms of reference. The chairperson will be responsible for the strategy and plans towards achieving the goals and mission of the network. The chairperson is required to ensure the EXCO members meet the deliverables aligned with the strategic plan. The chairperson will be responsible to source for the resources required by the network. And so I'm going to condense what it is that I have sought to do in furtherance of my responsibilities. The establishment of the Resource Mobilization Task Force. This task force, which is chaired by Ms. Pamela Manti, is responsible for identifying the resources needed for the CSA to carry out its projects and to be sustainable. The highlight of their work is to find a home for the CSA. Provisionally, temporarily, the CSA's headquarters is within the Commonwealth Secretariat office, but it was always the vision of the architects of the CSA and its constitution that the CSA would have a secretariat that is properly funded and is able to support the executive. Currently, the executive carries out its executive function and administrative function. All of the admin work, we do it, and we draw other students through committees and subcommittees to support us. But it's a lot. Frankly, it's too much. And so we're working with the Resource Mobilization Task Force to identify a home for the CSA so that the CSA can be legally registered there, that its financial framework can be set up there, bank account and tax structure, etc. And that, again, the Secretariat and that the EXCO and supporting committees can be properly incentivized. When I say incentivized, I'm not talking about a piece of paper with a signature. I'm talking about proper incentivization, if that's a word. Yes? What we do is work. It requires hours from our time. And sometimes I think that we are so foolish just to be doing this, but we are driven by passion. That's the only explanation. And I feel no qualms about saying that this is youth work, and youth work should be properly incentivized. We should be paid. And that is something I hope, even if we don't get to benefit from it during our tenure, we would have set up the CSA in such a way that those who come after us won't have to be subburdened, but they can move freely with the support that they need. The next thing that we are working on is the Year of Youth Engagement Tour. We've identified 19 countries from all regions that we want to engage in person by traveling to these countries to conduct high-level meetings, capacity building training, and grassroots engagement. We have set a date of February 1 to April 24 for this tour. It is extremely ambitious. Frankly, it is a faith move. But if the dreams don't make you nervous, you're not dreaming big enough. I feel that once we have exhausted all our efforts to make this thing real, whatever the outcome, I will sleep easy. We will all sleep easy because I know that we are trying and we're working hard. We're knocking on various doors. We're being creative. We're collaborating. We're working together. And we're saying to anyone who is interested in seeing this tour materialize, let's talk, because we want to make it happen. Yesterday was International Students' Day. Months ago, we set up the International Students' Day Planning Committee, and we agreed as an executive that we would spotlight the Asia-Pacific region. And I'm extremely proud of the forum that took place yesterday. Lavanka Dobson, the co-chair from Papua New Guinea, she led the panel discussion, led the planning and execution of the panel discussion that brought together panelists from Tonga, Nauru, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea. In my view, that is a major success, as the CSA has had limited interaction with some of those countries. And out of that, Bradley can attest, we've already started planning our follow-up activity, which will be a cultural festival and exposition that will showcase the various cultural art forms in the Pacific, but will also merge our advocacy priorities. Looking forward to that. The CSA Fireside Chat is not just to talk. There's a strategy in it. We have been targeting countries where we have had low engagement, and we have yielded some success. By inviting these countries to have these live-streamed conversations, it is a way for us to, one, amplify the global student voice by including them in these important conversations, showcasing their achievements, bringing visibility to their work, and again, establishing some practical connection with the CSA in furtherance of confirming their membership. So far, we have done 12 episodes, or 13, I believe. I have to say thank you so much to Dr. Angela from Uganda, who is the executive producer. She works we work very closely together in organizing these sessions, in ensuring that the guests are notified and that the content and the questions are prepared beforehand and that it goes on the various podcasting platforms. Angela is amazing. Cindella, you are amazing. She puts together the graphics for all the sessions and ensures that we have consistent promotion of the podcast. I'm not sure how far it will go, but I already see where it is evolving and where we will use it to mainstream or advocacy. The Commonwealth Student Safety and Security Agreement will, I think it's going to be a game changer in how the CSA lifts the profile of its advocacy because of the potential that is in it. This is the formal consensus, or it will be the formal consensus of students and stakeholders across the Commonwealth on cross-cutting matters of student safety and security. We'll be inviting our members to sign it formally, and we'll also be putting it to member states to implement it or measure it against their own local student safety and security policies. The Commonwealth Student Integrity Declaration is, did I say that right? Yes. The Commonwealth Student Integrity Declaration is another important instrument that the CSA has drafted, which is the formal consensus, again, of students across Commonwealth on what we expect of ourselves in the handling of student government that deals with transparency, managing student funds, electoral fairness. We are committing to these values, and as the student leaders of today, who will lead our countries tomorrow, some of us have already started national leadership, we are saying this is the standard that we want for leadership, the standard of honesty, the standard of fairness, accountability. And we, Transparency International, we are coming. We're hoping that you will partner with us. You know, we hope that you will see value in this, as a way to combat corruption and improve our national standing. Finally, the joint enterprising initiative that we started out with but have not yet had success. We have been pitching this soft skills resource to various partners and countries. We have not yet yielded the success we hoped, but there is a subcommittee under the Resource Mobilization Task Force that will be focusing on this, as well as other resources that the CSA will partner with persons to market and sell and share a profit in. That was a mouthful, but I hope I condensed well the things that have been worked on from my office. And at this time, I'll invite my colleagues to share their closing remarks in their local dialect. I'll start with myself. In Jamaica, we speak patois. People of the Commonwealth, big up your clean self. You know, say the Commonwealth Students Association, we are going to do road, and we are going to do road hard. We now stop. There's a song when we sing at church, we say, we not turn aside. Well, we not turn aside. There are enough things we want to stop with. Enough little things we want to get in our way. But, you see, this is a team here. We not stop till the work done. Yeah? We are going to advocate left, right, and center. And we not stop till the work done. Big up yourself. Who next? Mohammed, your turn.
I think Francis should go first before I do.
All right, Francis, your thing. The Yoruba man.
I'm not a Yoruba man. I'm an Igbo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So where do I start from? Where do I start from? Okay, before I actually start this, before I say the closing remarks in my mother language, this is something that we usually don't do in the CSA or And it's something that I want to do. And what we want to do as a team from the Africa region. Benjamin, we truly appreciate you. We appreciate your leadership. Most of the things that we have been able to do or achieve so far within this region would not have been possible without your distinct leadership. Thank you very much for your huge support. Thank you for always coming to our aid each time we'll beckon on you. God bless you. Umunem ana mekelenu una fugo una nugo yeni na neku gbasara CSA onye ọbụla na-ekwuzi nke ya na ụmụ ya ime anyị emego so far na 1 year in office anyị. So anyị na-ekwuzi wu ka Chineke ka Chineke nye ike ka wiki na-emetụkwa the more na ụmụ ihe anyị kwesịrị ime as student leaders. Ka Chineke kpaa ume ka wiki na-emekwa ụmụ ihe kwesịrị na-eme in terms of delivering for Commonwealth students. Daalụ nụ. God bless you.
Thank you, Francis. Who wants to go next? Bradley, we're delivering our closing remarks in our local tongue. But Alicia, you speak English, yes? You don't have a in Trinidad.
Unfortunately, you know, we just have a little slang. But since my mic is open, I will just go. Unfortunately, I don't have the pleasure of having a second language, but I will leave some words of inspiration with you before I log out. And that is to say, you can't play math if you're afraid powder. If anybody know what that means, that is to say, you cannot want to do the work and you're afraid what comes with doing the work. You know what you're taking on, you know why you're doing what you're doing. Tough times will come, difficulties will come, but you have decided that you have a goal and you want to achieve that goal, you push through the challenges that come with it. So this is my little Trini word of inspiration to you all. Signing out.
Well received. Trini to the bone. Who's next?
Yeah. I think I would want to start from the major languages being spoken in Africa. So I just greet by saying Karibu from our people in the eastern part of Africa. Karibu asante sana. I want to say bonjour to our French compatriots in Cameroon. I want to say assalamu alaikum to those in North Africa, and I want to say hello to English speakers in Western, Southern Africa. And coming to Nigeria, I think I could speak or could greet relatively in the 3 major languages, which I would say Dalu to my Igbo compatriots that Francis belongs to, and Nagode to our Hausa compatriots, and then to my mother tongue that I belongs to. Enyi omakaro jiri ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá káàkiri àgbáńláyé. Mo fẹ́ jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé ipò tí a wà yìí tí a dì mú ní inú ẹgbẹ́ àpapọ̀ àti àkójọpọ̀ Commonwealth Student Association ó jẹ́ ẹgbẹ́ ńlá tó ṣe pé ó fẹ́ jẹ́ ká rí bí a ṣe wù bó ṣe wù wá kárí lọ́jọ́ ọ̀la ìní ẹgbẹ́ yìí ló fẹ́ gbé lárugẹ. A fẹ́ jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lórí pé báwo ni ètò ẹ̀kọ́ láti yàrá àkàwé títí dé bó ṣe máa influence tó ṣe máa yí àwùjọ padà ní ti dáadáa. Òun ni nǹkan tí a fẹ́ rí láti ṣe nínú ẹgbẹ́ tí a wà yìí. Ó dẹ̀ jẹ́ ipò kan pàtàkì pẹ̀lú àwọn akẹgbẹ́ mi láti Pacific Island ni, láti Caribbean and Americas ni, láti akẹgbẹ́ mi tó wá láti Africa ni, láti Asia àbí láti Europe ni. Gbogbo wa pátápátá a jọ ń sowọ́pọ̀ fún ọjọ́ ọ̀la tó dára fún wa àti fún àwọn ọmọ tó ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn wa ọ̀la wípé àwùjọ tí ó dáa, àwùjọ tí ó mòye tó dẹ̀ lọ́pọlọ dání, òun ni ká ti build àwọn tó máa jẹ́ aṣíwájú láti ọjọ́ ọ̀la. Mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé ipò ìlérí àti ilẹ̀ ìlérí tá a sọ pé a fẹ́ dé yẹn, a máa débẹ̀ lágbára Ọlọ́run. A lè wá láti Áfíríkà, a lè jẹ́ èèyàn dúdú, àmọ́ làákàyè wa ò dúdú, ìmọ̀ wa ò dẹ̀ dúdú, kò dẹ̀ níjọba. Ẹ ṣé gan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And Bradley, let's hear it from the Pacific.
Thank you, Benji, Chair. So there's between 3 countries, there are almost 1,000 languages, not almost, but there are, and in PNG over 800 within the Pacific. So I don't know which language to pick because I don't know all of them. But as the Pacific regional representative, I think it would be fitting for me to close in Pidgin, which is commonly spoken throughout the Pacific, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu. It's a mixture of English and German and a bit of everything. So thank you. Good night, Loy Blogger. Wanna you sit on look stop. What's him this la? How much lo you pla stop on the me pla? Go night na RM lo walk where you may walk him. Lo Commonwealth Students Association. Ogaraman ol woge mol presentation blol lo one mol walk ol woge lo up place blol area blol different all regional all representatives all make him. So mega big lamas lo magi mouse blog at a sumatin now young line long 11 pla country long Pacific Islands. Magi mouse blog ogada line long Commonwealth Students Association team to me. Me to thank you for joining me plan one plan more year stop. So me look long walk one time new blogger long Solomon Islands, suppose you look lang up Vanuatu, Fiji, Nauru, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Tonga, Samoa, and Australia and New Zealand one time. Emtasol na taniki ubada herea.
Thank you very much.
That's me ending in good night in 2 different languages.
Beautiful. So thank you very much for joining us, and we continue to serve. Have a good day. Have a good night. Take